You're okay. We're live.
We are?
Yep, just went live.
Okay, that's weird because it said that it timed out. Oh, man. Yep. Yeah, and you're right. We are live. I see us. Well, everybody, the reason you're hearing us talk about this is we were trying to log in and it was telling me to, press the go live button again, but I guess we won't. And this is our landline that's ringing right now. And you notice it rang once. We've been getting robocalls all day and it's driving me crazy. I think it's because we have a rather contentious race going on for the school board in our county. So without further ado, let's go to the intro. And hello, everybody. I'm Steve Sande. This is Marty Edwards, and together we are AWT TV. And this is episode 24 or something like that, I think. Maybe 25.
It's hard to believe, yeah. We're half a year of broadcasts.
Yeah, when you're having as much fun as we usually have on the show, it just goes by like that. So.
That means we have broadcast now 24 hours of video of us talking. Someone could watch it in a continuous loop around the clock.
People can binge watch us.
Yeah.
I don't know why they would want to, but they can if they'd like to.
Yeah.
If somebody does that, we will write an article about you on Apple World Today. So.
And also Psychology Today. The article will appear both places.
Yeah, because we'd really wonder about you if you were doing such a thing. But anyway, we are here, and it's been kind of a busy day for me. This is my third podcast of the day. How about your day?
Oh, it's been great. I will mention, Steve, you talk about checking your network monitor. You're freezing and just staying in place. We're hearing your voice mostly, but the picture is just freezing quite a bit. So,
okay, I got to look at my network monitor here again and figure out what's causing problems. I'm going to shut down a couple of apps here and see.
Do I look smooth to you? Smooth enough?
You always look smooth. No, you do.
Okay. Yeah, for some reason you're dropping out. Your voice and face is out of sync. And that sounds like a medical condition, but
let me just check here. I'm going to see if I can.
But yeah, you're frozen in a perpetual laugh. I see. Yeah.
Well, you know what we could do is we could try reconnecting again.
Yeah, if you want to. But it's clearing up at times. I don't know if anyone's watching us, you might comment. Maybe someone can comment. You're doing pretty good now, Steve. So I think we'll do okay.
Okay, let's see. Yeah, it seems to be okay. We'll just hope that things are really working here. I actually didn't have it running here on mine because I was trying to reduce bandwidth. But anyway, so if I freeze up again, let me know and maybe we can try something else.
Okay. All right. Well,
little snitch running here to make sure that if there's anything that's taking over my computer, we know what it is. And right now, I don't see anything except Zoom.
Okay, well, I can hear you, and you're moving right now. So, well, no, day's been great here. Just not a whole lot in the Apple news, but I have a little follow up to an issue I was talking about last week. I found a great workaround that we'll address. So,
Cool. Yeah, uh, like I said, our discussion on this other podcast, I don't know how many of our viewers also watch Chuck Joyner's Mac Voices or MacJury, but I was on a MacJury tonight on Apple Watch Series 3, and it really got pretty much everybody, there were three of us, we all love our Apple Watch Series 3, so I think Apple's got a winner there.
are you using it much for phone calls or anything?
Well, it's funny because I have used it more for that than I really anticipated that I was going to. And in some cases, I'm actually on the network here at home. But, for instance, I'll have my phone sitting on my desk. I'm outside doing something and the phone rings and I answer it with the Apple Watch. So I am using it for that quite a bit. And I don't know how many of our viewers got a chance to read my review today of an app called Bear.
I
Bear is
did.
it's a text editor. And to be honest with you, I had heard of it and I'm like, I already use another app. I've got text editing apps out the wazoo. I don't need another one. But they came out with this note that said, "Hey, guess what? We've got a Apple Watch client." And I thought, "Oh, come on! Who's going to leave notes on their Apple Watch?" So I thought I'd try it. And of course, since it uses the iPhone to kind of synchronize to the rest of your devices, I had to put it on my iPhone as well. Well, guess what? Pretty darn quickly, I discovered that you can take notes. You use Siri dictation. It does it very well. It synchronizes them very well to the iPhone app, which also runs on iPad. And there's also a Mac client. And then I realized that I could take most of my items that I had in the Apple Notes app, move them over to this, and I ended up doing that. And I just love this app. I don't know what it is.
Well, I did look at your review, and it seems I had not heard of it, and Dennis said he hadn't either. So,
Yeah, well, I had just a while back, I'd seen a couple of comments about it from, I'm trying to think of his name, Federico Vitici, who does Mac Stories. And he was commenting and goes, I really like this app. It's got a good design. It's from Italy, strangely enough. So he probably knows the developers, but, I just kind of looked at it and went, it's another app. But I like it. It just seems to work the way I think, which means it probably wouldn't work for anybody else, but I really like the app. And, the fact that I can be out and about, suddenly get an idea of something that I need to write about, and I can start up a note. I can even, I could write a script from my watch if I wanted to. So
that's
cool
pretty
app.
neat. I had to check it out. You was talking about the use of the watch. Of course, my wife she had the original. Now she has a Series 1, but even with the original, one day, of course, we're on the Wi-Fi at our church building. And one service we were there and she had forgotten left her phone at home. But then she realized she was getting texts and other things on her watch there anyway, even though the phone was 10 miles away. It's because it was a pre-known Wi-Fi to the watch and data still came in. I thought that was pretty impressive.
That is really impressive. That is
And
so
so,
cool.
yeah, if it's on a Wi-Fi that the watch already knows, it will just pick up where it left off. So, and I thought that was quite impressive. And neither one of us have the Series 3 yet, but I had to admit it's very tempting and looks nice. And you've given it a good review.
Well, it's I just can't wait for the Series 5 to come out so I can, be out walking around and holding up my my watch and actually doing a podcast while I'm out and about. So
You probably will. I tell you, we're getting to, you remember the old Dick Tracy comics with the camera and screen on his watch. We are there. And so
yeah,
it's pretty
excellent.
amazing.
I think we do a lot more than he was able to do.
I think so.
He could just talk to Moon Maid if he wanted to, but the
Yeah.
rest of us, that was a weird comic.
Yeah. It was very different. Not a lot of Apple news today, was there? A set of betas. I don't even know if we covered it on the site. Late in the day, there was another beta for Mac OS. And up during the day, we had betas for iOS and such. But I'm not loading any betas on my, as the term is, daily driver. I'm staying away from betas. So
Good move. Yeah, it's sometimes you just kind of have to say, I can wait a week or so.
yeah.
And I'm kind of the same way right now. The strange thing is I haven't updated my Apple Watch to the latest version of WatchOS 4 yet. And I suppose I ought to do that, but I'm one of those people who tends to, I don't know. I don't like the fact that it takes a while to do the upgrades. So WatchOS updates take me a while to get excited.
They do take a while. The Watch OS updates are a little slow. I was hoping there would be another update for the iPhone today. Last week was on Wednesday, so we might tomorrow. A lot of bug fixes. Actually ran into a little bug. It wasn't a showstopper this week. Suddenly, about 2 days ago, when you take the screenshot, it puts the little, image of the screenshot in the corner, and you've got a few seconds to deal with it. I could take a screenshot, but it would never put that image, just blank. Never at all. I would look, and the screenshot took. I waited a few days, see if it would come back, and never did. So I restarted the phone today, and it fixed it. And a lot of people don't realize, I may have to show this, there is an option in accessibilities that you can restart the phone, not just power down. You can reboot your phone with one button. It's quite handy. That's what I did to reboot it. You don't have to do the all the maneuvers with your fingers and holding and everything. Just touch a button, it'll reboot.
That's really nice, because when you think about, the gyrations that you normally have to go through, taking a lot of those steps out of there is good. I think a lot more people will be more apt to do that if they're having issues. So,
well, I'll tell you what, I might show that. Would you like me to just show it right now, how to do that?
Yeah.
If people are watching early. All right. How do you reboot your phone with really one finger? You can. I use accessibilities. Fortunately, I don't need any accessibilities except my eyesight's a little weak and I run things a little bit bigger than usual. But let me pull up QuickTime here to get I wasn't quite prepared. Let me get a new movie going. I'll show how to do this because I find this very convenient indeed. So I'm just going to greet you with a real big screen right here, a white screen. Well, just a moment here. All right. Now I've got the right screen going, I think. All right. Now my phone's going over, so let me share. I tell you, live TV is a little different in a live broadcast. Okay, I know you see my phone there.
Yeah.
Okay, go into settings, then go down to general, tap on. I have a guy that is a publisher of a site. I used to always say click on, but he told me it was tap on, and I've never forgotten that. And it's
tap.
Yeah, Mr. Sandy told me that. Tap on general, and then go down to accessibility. This is where you find a lot of, I guess, what would be called handicap options if you need it to speak or zoom or magnify the screen or larger text, bold text, and the such like. But one of the most convenient things, and I use this all the time, is assistive touch. And you set up what you want one taps to do. Right now, I just have it where I can take a screenshot. As a matter of fact, let me just show you how that works. Since I've just got one, all right, you see a button came up there?
Yeah.
All right, I only have one. So when I hit it, it's going to take a screenshot. All right. There, you see the little screenshot and everything came up.
Okay.
Since I only have one, I don't have to do a second press. But another very handy, and you can move that around, you can add many different things. I want to add a second one, and you can add really as many as you want. You can make these buttons do all these commands, SOS, but a new one with iOS 11 is restart. And so now that's part of my phone. So if I don't want to go through all the maneuvers, and if you do have trouble with mobility or someone has one hand, it's really hard to restart your phone, especially iPhone 8, it takes a 3-button combination. You put this on your screen, hit restart, and I'll probably end up restarting my phone. And if I do, I'll be back. But I hit this and I hit restart.
Oh,
And
cool.
do I want to restart my phone or not? Well, I'm not going to, but it actually does not just power it down. And you can also adjust as you see how much you want to see that little button when it's not in use. So that's an
Sweet.
extremely handy thing. But I keep mine at pretty much, I just go with one icon. And so I can take a screenshot, especially if I have it in the automobile in a holder and I want a screenshot. All I got to do is reach up, touch the phone, and I've got a
You've got a
screenshot.
screenshot.
Yeah, it saves from anywhere. I can move it around. You know, something rolls across. I want a screenshot, just touch it. There it is. It's one of the handiest things ever. And so for later on, if anyone watched last week, I told how Southern men have trouble with Siri. She just cannot understand my voice. And I have to admit, and I saw 2 articles this week on Mac sites, very respected Mac sites, that talked about how much better they felt that Google Voice was at recognizing commands and voice than Siri is. And a lot of that is the privacy and how they send it back. But I'll give a little preview. I installed the Gboard, Google's keyboard, and it will let me send anything I voice type to their servers, transcribe it, send it back to the phone, and it has changed my life this week. So when you're ready, I'll give a quick review of that.
Let's go for it now.
All right. Well, let me screen share. I won't show how to install all this, but let's get back to it. I was really having trouble and I don't know if I can demo voice while I'm broadcasting on here or not, while I'm recording. Probably cannot, but we will see. I was really having trouble with Siri understanding my voice. If I use Siri and I said, one of my examples was Kentucky 31 fescue. That's a type of seed that a lot of people here have here in their yard. And Siri would go berserk every time I said that. Let me see if it can even hear me. What is Kentucky 31 fescue? Look at that. What is Kentucky 31 Penske? Siri, good. And it would always do that. And if I talk at a normal cadence, it was comical. What is Kentucky 31 fescue? Oh, I got it. I'm surprised.
Whoa.
Maybe yeah, that's the first time she's, yeah, and hopefully so. Tell me about Kentucky 31 fescue. See, I got thank you. And Siri has so much trouble. Well, how I would love to use Google Voice, but this is an iPhone. Well, come to find out, of course, in 2014, Apple allowed us to install other keyboards like Swipe and all that. But I found out in February this year, Google added their voice to their keyboard. So I installed an app called Gboard. And you have to give it full permissions. There's all kinds of warnings that if anything you speak will be sent to Google servers, will be used against you in a court of, no, it doesn't say that. Practically.
It should.
It does say will be sent to Google servers, and anything you type will be sent to them, voice type. But I said, okay, I want that. And a quick side note, I haven't tested this, but if I start to enter a credit card number, Apple knows to switch back to their keyboard so it doesn't go to Google. It keeps it here, and then it goes back to this keyboard. So I got this keyboard installed. You had to do various permissions. But now I can set this keyboard to always be, if I want to, the default keyboard. So there it is. I chose the black. It had a dark theme, which I liked. And with it, you can swipe. If I wanted to do, of course, I can type Apple, just simple Apple. There it is. Or I can swipe with this one. Let me see if I can swipe. APPLE. See, I just swipe on the keyboard.
Nice.
And let me try world, WORLD. I got works. I didn't swipe too well. I'm not much of a swiper, but the voice recognition, now you press and hold the space bar for about 1 second. It takes you, Apple will not let any app access voice transcription from messages. But Google has a workaround I hope Apple never takes away. It sends you out to the Google Now app, records it, sends it to Google, comes back, then it pastes it into this. And it's actually pretty quick. So let me ask Google about Kentucky 31 fescue. Tell me all you know about Kentucky 31 fescue. And then it comes back into that app. That has changed my life this week. I was having so much trouble with voice typing. This is the best thing I've ever discovered on the iPhone. It's the best of both worlds. Google does have some products I feel are do better than Apple, and Siri is, one of them. But it works great. I can say off the wall stuff. I told you I was having a terrible, and I can easily switch back to the other keyboard. Here I am on Apple. I told you about that old radio team, Lum and Abner. Siri just went berserk. Let me try that. Tell me about the radio team, Lum and Abner. Yeah, look at that. It's not even close. I'd have to go back and type. So I know to be a true test, I need to do both at the same time. So let me go back to the Google keyboard. All right. Tell me about the radio team, Lum and Abner.
Jeez.
It got it. It pastes back. And so
wow,
it's almost always perfect. That has really helped me so much. And I can use this keyboard anywhere that a keyboard can be used. And it does have themes. And it does this. Now watch when I'm typing. It goes into another app quickly, which is Google Now. And while it's transcribing on their servers, you see the little color bars bounce. And there's no way to show you this. When it's finished, it uses the haptic engine to give me a double tap and then sends it back. So let me ask it something pretty common and show you what happens. Tell me about the weather tomorrow. Do you see what happened at the bar? It brought up a Google search for weather. Since it saw I was asking about weather, it only gives me that for a little while. But let me do it again and tap on it. It shows you what it offers. I didn't mean this to be a full-blown review of Google Keyboard.
No, but this is cool.
But I'm so impressed. This is the greatest thing I have ever found on the iPhone so far. If they take it away, I may just go to Android world today. That's all I can say.
Just get yourself a Google Pixel.
Yeah. Trust me, I've been tempted. Hey, Ruby, he told me to buy a Google Pixel. I've got to
Pixel
now.
2, yeah.
Pixel 2 XL. Actually, we watched the Google keynote. I said, that's a nice phone. She said, I was afraid you would say that. But let me do about the weather again. Tell me about the weather tomorrow. And then I tap that little weather icon there. And look, it came up with, there's my hometown, the weather channel. It comes up with all these little searches because it found a common word, weather. I can search YouTube. It even offers me a GIF about weather. Let's try those. Okay, that's pretty neat. Let me copy, and then I'm going to paste it in there and send it. It's pretty neat, isn't it? So,
that's great.
So because it saw I had the word weather, it thought you might want to search. And so anytime I want to, from Google's keyboard, I can actually search here. And from right in, it's like little messages. But I find their voice type, if you'll bear with me one moment, of how that I can do extended typing. It's really amazing. 2 or 3 sentences, no problem. I wonder if it'll get Steve Sande. Probably not. I'll probably put Sandy. But right now, I'm testing Google Voice transcription on Apple World Today, period. New paragraph. We are broadcast. Okay. It wanted to stop, but you see it did space for a new paragraph.
Yeah.
We are broadcasting live on YouTube, period. Right now, I'm appearing with Steve Sande.
Yeah, and it's
sure enough got the name wrong.
Well, most people
and that's
do.
Fine. Yeah.
Yeah, that's to be expected.
Yeah, let me just try one. I wonder if you can tell me anything about baseball scores. And it didn't come up with a Google search right then. Maybe it's only a few things, but it's pretty handy about things like that. But as you can see, I can type pretty extended. I wonder about Abraham Lincoln. I thought it might put up a suggestion there. But one of the things, our county seat is called Mumfordville. And it almost always gets Mumfordville. Apple, and you saw how bad it did. And one of the things that I found really impressive on Google's voice, when I first asked for lemon Abner, it did lemon, as in the fruit, Abner. But then I saw the word lemon, then I saw Abner. But after it saw Abner, it probably realized the context, went back, corrected it to lum, and then had it right. It really seems to learn context. So, I can really talk for an extended period if I want to on here. So that's pretty much it. And you can use this in any app you want. You can change themes. It was only got light and dark, but I thought the dark looked pretty nice. It uses the Apple emoji, so you don't lose those. I'll type one more thing that might be a little complex. I live in Kentucky and our county seat is Mumfordville. I actually thought I might go to the Apple store tomorrow, period. It looks to be a good day, sunny, and about 70 degrees Fahrenheit.
That is
okay. It missed
incredibly
sunny,
good. Yeah, but
it's
pretty incredibly good. Yeah.
Yeah. If I speak. This is my last test of the evening. I really appreciate everyone bearing with me, period. I do like Google Voice. And I'm really glad I have found a way to use it on the iPhone, period. Siri works great, but for transcriptions, I find Apple Voice to be a little bit more solid, period.
Wow.
Did you see it put Sherry?
Yes.
Then went back and corrected it to Siri because it knows the context.
That's crazy.
That's pretty impressive, isn't it? So that, I guess, might be my big demo of the night.
It's so cool.
It's a free app. It's just called Gboard. Load it up. And, you can switch between it and Siri as much as you want. But this is really, it gets my accent. It learns context, because I'm glad you got to see that. It said Sherry works great for transcriptions in Apple Voice. Yeah. I said Apple Voice, but I meant Google. But it went back and changed it because it learned the context and thought he means Siri, not Sherry.
Yeah.
So that was a good demo. So thanks for bearing with me.
If you were talking about friends or something and you happen to have a friend named Sherry, it would probably use that word.
Probably had left it.
They do a much better job of kind of, like you said, kind of figuring out the context in which you're speaking and going, oops, we'll change that word.
Right. I know, that's pretty impressive. And Siri just simply cannot do that. And it may not ever. And people say, well, the trade-off, you're giving up privacy, because everything I read went to their servers, transcribed, and come back. Sure enough, it did. But for me, it's worth it because I like good, solid voice transcription. That's good enough and I've tried it. I can use it in notes. So that's going to let me type long documents, within notes. I can do 2 or 3 sentences, let it put it in, do 2 or 3 more, and I'll say new paragraph. It goes down. So I can do some serious typing with my voice.
Not bad. Yeah. And I tell you, kind of, you take something like that and something like, the app I was talking about there earlier there. And it's getting to the point that you might not need to use a keyboard for much longer because we're getting really good at this.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, pardon me, I always wonder, a lot of times always comes together what I'm going to talk about. But I was showing this to my wife. I actually just discovered it, I think 2 nights ago. So I think Sunday night. And I said, I want to show you something. I was showing her how well it worked. She said, well, that gives you something to talk about Tuesday night, to mention
Yeah.
what happened from last week. So I'm glad Ruby mentioned that, because I did talk about on last week's show and gave some examples. And you saw there when I used Siri, it was just some off the wall translations or, transcribing. And then I didn't have that with Google Voice. Now, Siri may get there, and I hope it does. But for right now, if you're having trouble with Siri understanding you, use Google, use their Gboard. Of course, one of the drawbacks, I can't just press and hold the home button and activate it. I have to be in the app. But I've been using it almost exclusively to respond to people with texts. It just works so well. So hopefully that'll help somebody.
That is absolutely cool. It's, and I think that's one of the things I've really been impressed with over about the past year is that we're seeing some of these third parties that used to be thought of as, the big evil competitors, namely Google and Microsoft, coming out with apps that are in many ways better than their Apple compadres out there,
Well,
so it's good to see.
Well, it is. I really do enjoy Apple products, but I'm not going to say, well, I'm going to pass this up because it is an Apple. If it works better for me and it's on the Apple phone, I'm glad to use it, because competition really does drive innovation. They're going to push things because of that. So anyway, that may be my one demo of the night, not to overload people. I've got Flower, but I may save it a little bit later till I learn how to get past the first level.
Oh no.
And so,
that's why I try never to demo games, because it's usually like every time I try doing that, it's like, oh no, I didn't mean to do that.
Yeah, I feel like I'm a pretty decent gamer. It's really a different game. There's really no objective per se. And it's just sort of very much relaxation. So, well, I guess part of the big news we ought to mention was that you know more of this than me, but they cracked the WSP2, WPS2 or whatever, security protocol this week on wireless.
Yeah, WPA.
Yeah, WPA. I'm really a security expert.
Well, it's horrible because I think of WPA and, being kind of a history buff, I always think of the Works Progress Administration.
Exactly, yeah.
So, which really dates me. Half the audience probably just went, huh?
But, it was a big thing, yeah, back in the 40s or so, yeah.
Yeah. So, excuse me, I got all choked up about it. But that was kind of a scary thing because, out of nowhere, suddenly we hear about this. And the good thing is that the guy who discovered the vulnerability actually, these are good white hat hackers. He went ahead and let all the folks at Apple and Microsoft and, you name it, really kind of let them know about the issue. So Apple, excuse me, Apple has already gone ahead and said that most of the operating systems, when the next version comes out, will have a patch in there. They haven't said anything about the whatever the heck you call them, airports, Airport Extreme, regular airport. Haven't said anything about patching those, but the big thing is it just needs to be patched on one end. So
that's right.
Fix the issue with the clients. Life is good, and it looks like they're pretty much on their way to do that. The interesting thing is that a lot of the router manufacturers are kind of jumping to it pretty quickly. The bad part of that is I would venture to say that probably 99% of all people out there have no clue how to do a firmware upgrade on their routers.
Yeah, you're right. I had read that said, if you live pretty much in a single family dwelling, no one really close to you, it's not too much concern. And of course, all your Apple and your router doesn't have to be updated if all the other items are. Of course, anything on Ethernet connection safe. It's only wireless devices, and all your Apple devices are, will be updated with the net, probably 11.1. And so I'm hoping they'll push that out pretty quick.
Well, I've always said that. It's like, I really, really need to get, gigabit Ethernet everywhere in my house. Now I've got a reason to do it. I can say it's for security reasons.
Well, I do have it run all over the house. I think I told you what happened. We have a pretty progressive phone company here. They send cable over copper right now, but they're running fiber to every customer. And I was having a little trouble with my speed. It wasn't doing, or something. I was dropping out. And they come. Our house was built in 2000. They found out that my wiring for the internet and all was Cat 3, which was the standard then. And so a guy came out. I have wiring maintenance for the house, which cost me 85 cents a month. And because it was on their end, they replaced everything in my house, run Cat 6 everywhere. I bought the cable. They did all the labor, 4 guys, didn't cost me a penny.
Nice.
So I've got Cat 6 run everywhere. The phone company did that for that 85-cent charge.
Whoa.
Because I was having trouble, they considered it a repair. And, our phone company is local. I knew the guys and everything, so they bend over backwards. So I'm Cat 6 all over, gigabit Ethernet, and so ready to roll.
Now you just need that fiber to the house.
It hurts a little, but not much.
Well, it's kind of funny because I think I mentioned to you earlier today and to Dennis that my wife is going to be retiring, which is pretty cool. After 40 years of work and 37 years with the same company, she's finally going to be retiring. And that is just absolutely great news. She's got some physical disabilities, and I think this is going to give her a chance to spend more time thinking about herself than about the job and doing a little bit of relaxing.
Well, from what obviously your wife doesn't work just down at a corner market, which is a fine job. She has a high-end job, probably some stress on it.
Yeah. And stress is not good for people with, pretty bad rheumatoid arthritis. So when she told me today, I was just absolutely thrilled. I think that's one of the big things. Why I was bringing that up is that, of course, we're going to be on a somewhat fixed income now, for the rest of our lives, unless I managed to sell Apple World today for, $1 billion, which has like little or no chance of happening. But you never know.
Yeah.
But anyway, the one thing that I think is kicked up a notch in our minds is becoming, cable free. In other words, cutting the cable, and that's we realize what we watch, what we don't watch. I was really, we were kind of laughing about it because this one channel that we watch a lot of. They show a lot of reruns of shows that we really like. And that's a station called Ion Television. Now, Ion Television in the Denver area, I didn't know this, but we always thought it was just a regular cable channel. It turns out that it is one of the digital, DTV channels. So it's actually broadcast over the air. And since we watch the stupid show or the stupid channel a lot because of the old shows that they watch or they show, suddenly finding that out, I'm going, well, that means all we need to do is get one of those digital TV antennas, and suddenly we've got that station. We don't need to go through our ridiculously expensive Comcast cable account. For the other things like watching Major League Baseball, I have no problems with thinking about, if the rest of my cable package, so to speak, is gone. I have no problems with maybe paying for MLB TV for each season to be able to watch baseball games. So, we're starting to give that a lot more look, and it'll be fun over the next couple of months to see how we actually make a change, or if we do. So,
that's interesting because my wife retired this year, June the 1st. So Both our spouses will be retiring same year. And in the same
Wow.
vein, we're cable or cord cutters. We canceled our cable in 2010 and never looked back. Now, granted, in 2012, my mother, due to health reasons, moved here, and and when we saw she was going to be here for an extended period, we had her cable transferred here so she could watch, and so we get to watch that. So we do sort of have cable here, but not our own, and we rarely watch. I actually told you, and I'm on the second month. I went with YouTube TV, trying it.
Yeah.
So it's pretty good, but there's a lot of blackouts on some ball games and the such like. So I'll be honest, most of my watching has turned out to be YouTube videos and Netflix, and so I can do without cable if I want to,
Well,
which we
it's
have.
funny. Yeah, and you know what's funny is I find myself spending more and more time watching YouTube videos. I've been a aviation fan since I was a kid. Oddly enough, for a long time, because of some anxiety issues that I had, I didn't really like flying, but I loved airplanes. I could always identify all these different types of planes, and we lived near a Air National Guard base. It's now a Air Force base out in Aurora, Colorado, and so, during the Vietnam War, I was watching, jet after jet after jet going over our house, full afterburners, really loud. Got to see some interesting aircraft, like shortly after the C-5 Galaxy started flying, we'd see them out there at Buckley Field. I saw an SR-71 one time, which is, still holds most of the records for speed of aircraft. So, it's just some incredible airplanes going there. Love this stuff. And what I've found is I keep subscribing to more and more of these YouTube channels that deal with aviation. And I found one last night. We're watching a baseball game, and I was kind of yawning about that. I had my iPhone with me, picked it up, and it had a new video for me. And it was some young guys, including, I think this kid he was like age 16 and 18. He flew around the world. Got a pilot's license, flew around the world. Pretty amazing. Well, he was with two other guys, and they were doing a flight from the US over to Europe. He was like hitching a ride, and they're in a single engine Cessna doing this. And it was absolutely fascinating watching that. I think it's just part one of, probably two or three, but I sat there for 30 minutes watching this thing. So I'm really beginning to wonder if, that's more exciting to me now than actually watching this pre-programmed crap that's interrupted with sorry, pardon the expression, but that's interrupted with a lot of ads. I'd much rather, have an ad at the beginning, ad at the end, and watch the show.
Well, I'd say that's probably 75 to 80% of my watching now are YouTube videos. I watch, of course, all kinds of Apple and cell phone tech reviews. I am a gamer. I play World of Warcraft. My wife and I both do. I watch a lot of Warcraft videos of just games and things about the game. And something else, and this might be a good point of discussion one night on our show, a free app, one's called Livestream. I use it a lot. There are people that broadcast, and I find such eclectic I won't say off the wall, but on Friday night, I can find so many schools broadcasting football games, and I'll end up just watching and then get interested in them. I so much prefer that as opposed to commercial television.
Yeah.
You watch,
Well,
and most of it's good. Most of those folks are doing it in 720 on YouTube up to 1080. It looks great.
Well, and what really surprises me too, you take a look at some of the, larger live streaming things. You were talking about live stream. Ustream is another.
It's on my phone. Ustream is.
And I mean, some of these productions are actually really well done.
Well, they are.
There was one other I was thinking of, and I can't.
Well, Facebook has videos all the time now. And I don't even keep Facebook on my phone, but they do have a lot of video. And YouTube is live. Let me ask you a question. Maybe some of our listeners know. You can broadcast from your phone to YouTube, But when I do it on the iPhone, it's only to record and post later. When I do it on the Android, I can go live now. I thought they were going to roll that. I thought they'd already been updated, but apparently not on the iPhone. I can't go live on the iPhone. So I'll check that out later. I can from the Android. Not that I need to go live, but a few times.
Well, you never know when you're going to need, something interesting comes up that you're seeing. The aliens actually come to your block, and you want to put a live stream out there. It'd be good to know that you're able to do that.
Well, it would. I think that is the future of viewing and television is the individual. There's a lot of, just junk out there, no doubt, but there's some really quality productions and things. I just enjoy watching. I'm watching
like
the clock
AWT
here.
TV.
Yeah, exactly. So I see, before we run out of time, I think it behooves us to mention news came out today. They do not think the iPhone 10 supply is going to be constrained. There are sources saying it's going to be met by Christmas. Who knows?
Yeah. I love this because one day it's like massively constrained, only 47,000 units. And no, actually, they're up to 100 to 400,000 a month right now.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody really knows, but I think, this is so many people are waiting for the iPhone 10 that it's one that they really do need to knock it out of the park. Because I think, and have a lot available on day one, because I think you're going to see tremendous demand on that's coming up 10 days from now, October 27th.
Well, I told my wife, I said, I think I'll set an alarm, wake up and try to order anyway. Because if I get a Verizon unit, they can be used on our carrier since it's a Verizon partner and just pop a SIM in and do that. So I thought, I never think I have a chance of getting, but somebody's got to get those few. So I might as well give it a try. I told her, I said, as a matter of fact, I think I may just use your phone, have 2 orders ready to go, try them both. And if I get 2, I guarantee, well, she might want to use it, but even if she didn't, you could resell it on eBay right now. And so probably make a pretty decent profit if you wanted to.
Yeah. And I wonder if they're going to constrain the number of units you can order, like, say you can only order 2, because I know there are some countries where I think it's almost a hobby, how many can you order in the first day online? Right. So they can get all these units and then resell them for, a nice tidy profit.
That's something, and truthfully, I would never do purposely. If I bought one or ended up with 2 and couldn't use it, I wouldn't mind selling on eBay, but I'm not a profiteer. I'm just glad to get my money back. That's all I want.
Yeah.
But if I got 2, I'm sure I, want my wife to use one. But I think I'll get up on October 27th. That's just 10 days, isn't it? What you said.
Wow.
See if I can order. And then, a week after that, November 3rd, I'm really looking forward to it because all these guys that get them and gals are going to start reviewing them and testing them and see videos. I'm really looking forward to that.
Well, I tell you, if either one of us happens to get one, or, if I don't know if Dennis was going to get one or not, but
he said he was going to get up early and order.
Yeah. If any of us get one on day one, I think we need to do a live stream like this.
Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah.
Do an unboxing, the minute it shows up. Here it is.
Yeah. That would be good.
We used to do a lot of those on Tua. They weren't live, but we would do, film it and then, put it online. And you'd be amazed how many views those stupid unboxing videos
Unboxings are extremely popular. It is amazing how often. I did an unboxing video for the iPhone 7 just to share with my family. But I got it in, I opened it and everything, demoed. I had my wife film it. So it was pretty fun to do. So, yeah, if we get one, we'll definitely have to do it. Maybe we all 3 will. Yeah. So, I know our regional carrier won't have it for quite a few weeks at best. But if I get a Verizon, I'm sure I can use it. And if I don't, I'm sure you or Dennis would be willing to purchase it if I couldn't use it.
Verizon? If y'all did. No.
Yeah. You're AT&T, aren't you? Yeah.
Yeah.
But Dennis is Verizon, I think.
I think you're right. Yeah. Yeah. The one thing I love, of course, I'm going to be buying mine on the upgrade plan. And the one thing I love about that is they all come unlocked, which is kind of neat. the sad part was was it last year? Yeah, it was last year. I got a SIM card that you can use to actually get service in other countries, and I was able to use it in Brazil, but I don't know. I just wish I had been able to use it more. We weren't in a lot of cities where it actually worked. Rio, it worked beautifully, and that was so cool to be able to call up an Uber car from my phone in another country and realize I wasn't paying an arm and a leg. So
Yeah.
there are some good things out there.
Well, you mentioned Uber. I'll mention this before we close. We will be, doing the JAMP conference next week. We'll be without
Yeah.
transportation. I've never taken an Uber. Do you know? Of course, I've lived in the country all my life. I've never taken a taxi. I've never had need for one. I've never been where a taxi is. So how do you find the Uber? Pretty, because I've already looked where the Apple store is in relation to where we're staying and everything.
Well, what you do is you actually use the app and you say, I need a car to go to, wherever, hotel, maybe you want to go to the airport or whatever, from a hotel. It knows your location. The app knows your location. It sends it out to the drivers. Drivers see, oh, somebody wants to carry 2 people from this hotel to the airport. And they look at it and they go, yeah, I'm 2 blocks away. I can do that. And they'll respond to you. It shows the price. Everything's agreed upon in advance. Now, the cool thing is, I don't know if it's everywhere now, but in Denver, they were testing this thing called I think they call it an Uber Light. And what it is an Uber symbol, an Uber logo that's in the front window of the car. And when you say that you're, going to take this car, you choose a color and you do something like, I'll make it bright orange. Well, it's your driver when the car comes up and that light is the color you've chosen. It's bright orange. It's kind of another way of verifying that the right Uber driver is there for you. But it works so well because you pay for everything in advance. There's no handing somebody you don't know a credit card. Everything's paid for in advance. It's all done from the app. They will often say, I'm in a dark blue, Chevy, blah, blah, blah. They'll tell you what kind of car. My name is Fred. I'll be there in about 5 minutes. When the car comes up, if you're in the location where you've told them you're going to be waiting for them, they'll come by and they'll go, are you Steve? Are you, you Marty? And you go, yeah, you Fred? Yeah, come on in. You get in the car and you're done. You just take a ride. I've used it in New York. I've used it in Bay Area, a couple other locations, Rio. And frankly, I think if they can get to the point that, almost, I always joke about that, and that's Uber's idea. But if they can get rid of the driver and just have vehicles on demand, a lot of us are going to be selling cars.
Yeah. So you just pay from the app. I wonder if it takes Apple Pay, I guess, or I don't know.
I can't remember, but you can store a credit card with them, and it just goes against that. And great service. Lyft is another one. Lyft, though, Uber, you normally get pretty nice cars, and you can get different levels of service. There's like Uber X and there's Uber Light and Uber, limo service, whatever can't remember the different names, but you can get different levels of service. So if you were going to a reunion and you decided I really want to impress all my former classmates, you get the high end one and you spend maybe $3 more or $4 more for the trip, but you go in a town car. The bottom layer are nicely kept smaller vehicles. Lyft can be really anything, and the only time I ever used a Lyft vehicle, I was with our former trying to remember what we called him, but he was the guy who ran TUA, and that was Victor Agreda. And Victor was in town for something, and we had to get somewhere. And he says, "Oh, let's call a Lyft." And I'm like, "Do you really want to do this?" And this, frankly, kind of a junker car pulled up, and I was really dubious about it. But this guy's there to make money, so he did a very good job. You know, no money, once again, changed hands physically. We went from point A to point B, had a good drive. So, Lyft.
Well, I may load the app because we'll be up there in Minneapolis with no transportation and might need a quick ride to the airport coming back if we can't get a shuttle or something. Have a little bit of luggage. I don't know how they'll handle that. But I'm sure
that's one other thing you can tell them too is, when you call for the car and somebody's, you just, they'll know the location that you're going to the airport. You might just put in there, can you take, 2 large suitcases in your vehicle? And a lot of times they'll come back and go, "Oh yeah, no problem."
Yeah. Well, that's I may load that and be prepared. So I will mention, since we're about to close here next week, you will probably see me broadcast from the Hyatt Regency in Minneapolis, Minnesota, along with my wife. I'm going to load the Zoom app on her phone. So you'll have 3 next week.
Cool. And
we can
we'll
talk
have to see
about
if we can talk Mr. Dennis into getting onto the show here. Maybe we'll actually have 4 people on.
Yeah. So, I will give a heads up. Who knows with our internet connection, I may just have to use LTE or the hotel Wi-Fi. Something could happen. I drop out, but I'll be here at 8:30 regardless, So.
Well, and I'm looking forward to that because, the Jamf conference, in a lot of ways, for people who support Macs, support Apple devices, right now, as far as I'm concerned, it's one of the best conferences out there. And, because you're talking about a company that really knows what they're doing, and they kind of grab the market because of that. They do a better job of, mobile device management than Apple does. And, frankly, I anytime anybody says, we've got 50 Macs in our business, what should we be using to do this? Should we put up a server? I say, no, use Jamf. That's the answer. They're good people, and one amazingly good product. So,
well, I look forward. I'll learn a lot and report. And so they've got an app I've got loaded on the phone. They, of all the sessions you check you're going to. And of course they have a media luncheon. I made sure we checked that and go into it. And, so they wanted our phone numbers. They said if they get in touch with us. So really hospitable, just really welcoming us. And so I look forward to it. So next week you'll see us live from northern parts of the U.S. We'll be in Minnesota.
Yeah, hopefully it won't snow.
I've checked the weather. The coldest day, I think, is like 52 as a high. And of course, where we're staying and the conference is all in Hyatt Regency, so we won't even be outside except probably go to the hotel or airport and back.
I was going to say we had when I was working for IBM, I spent way too much time in Minneapolis because we were doing a project that was headquartered in Denver, Minneapolis, and Amarillo, Texas, strangely enough. But I spent a lot of my time in Minneapolis. And trust me, you don't want to be there in the winter.
I can imagine. I won't get off subject, but Amarillo has the best steakhouse I've ever eaten at in my life, the Big Texan.
Big Texan, yes. I love that place.
So you've been there?
Yes. Well, actually just last year.
Well, I'll tell you, my wife and I, we were in Amarillo and we stopped at a hotel. I got to tell you this quickly. And I asked her, I said, well, since we're here in Amarillo, I said, what's a good place to get steak? She said, you want to go to the Big Texan. She said, let me know when you're ready. They'll send a limo to come pick you up.
Mm-hmm.
So we told her we were ready. Big limo pulled up, white limo with big long horns on the front, took us there. We ate all the steak we could handle, live music. Quick side note, one of the band members was in the original Bob Wells band. He was actually performing that night. And
wow.
So he was quite elderly, but he was there. They took us back in a limo, an abundance of of steak, and we got our drink. We had Coke and tea, ride, steak, drinks, everything. Total for both of us, $23.
Yeah, and well, the one great thing about this place, seriously, they have the 72-ounce steak challenge.
Oh, I've seen them stream that live. That's amazing.
Yeah, and we were there, or when we were there last year, there were two guys that came in. Now, believe it or not, there are tours that come over from Australia and New Zealand. Usually they're together, but they go around the country and all these eating and drinking establishments. It's kind of a culinary thing. And one of the stops, of course, was the Big Texan. So we were there, and there were, just tables full of Aussies sitting there. And there was two Australians and a New Zealander who sat down to do the challenge. And the idea is you eat a 72-ounce steak and all the trimmings at the same time. I mean, if you can do it in an hour,
right,
you get it for free. And two of them failed, one of them made it, and he got it for free, which was absolutely cool. So it was fun watching it in person. And like you said, you can watch it live stream.
Well, there was some trying for it while we were there. And so it was going there is not just good steak, it's an event.
It is.
So I digress, but when you said Amarillo, I'll always think of the Big Texan.
Yeah, and it was so stupid for a lot of the time when I was actually on that project for IBM. It was going to Amarillo. I was a vegetarian.
Oh, that's that's just sad. Is all it is.
Yep, and that's all I have to say.
Yeah, yeah. I don't. There's no. You can't go eat at the Big Broccoli.
Yeah,
it just doesn't seem quite right. But anyway, I digress. We get on some good topics here.
We sure did. It was, as usual, a lot of fun chatting here. We'll be back next week, same time. We usually get on at, let's see, it's 6:30
about 8:30 Central.
Yeah, 9:30 Eastern, 7:30 Mountain Time. I have no idea what it is in Alaskan time or Greenwich Mean Time.
Yeah.
We're usually here, and I think next week will be interesting because Marty and Ruby will be broadcasting from Minneapolis and letting us know what's been going on at the Jamf conference.
Yeah, you'll see.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah, vastly different background. We'll be in a hotel, maybe in the lobby. Ruby suggested we might even go different locations in the hotel to give you all different background and some of our thoughts.
It'd be cool.
So we'll have something different next week.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, same here. Well, so we'll see you next week from Minnesota.
Yeah, and as usual, if you're watching this for the first time and you like what you see and you're kind of having fun and you would like to help us out, be sure to give us a thumbs up, the old like on YouTube. And also think about subscribing to the Apple World Today channel. We might be bumping up our video production a little bit more in terms of the volume. So you're probably going to see a lot more how-tos and reviews coming up in the future. For Apple World Today, I'm Steve Sande. This is Marty Edwards. And everybody have a great week. And now I've got to see if I can actually play our wonderful outro. Go for it, outro.